Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode in the series Conversations with Shelly. Of course, I'm Shelly. For those of you who are new here and joining me for the first time, and for those of you who have always been here in one shape or another, welcome back. Always a pleasure to have you. Always love the fact that you're sticking and staying. So, today I wanted to talk about something most people avoid talking about. Trust me. It's a very super important topic. And for many of us, we avoid, we evade, we go around, we do everything else except face it head on. Today, I'm talking about making a will. Now, I know you may be thinking, I'm too young. I don't have much. So why do I need a will? Well, as I said, if you stick around, because by the end of this video, you will see why everyone, yes, why everyone should have a will. But I'm going to start off, my extraordinaires, with what exactly is a will. So, let us start with the very basic. Now, a will is a legal document that explains what happens to your property, your assets, and even your dependents after you pass away. Now, think of a will as your final instruction, your final manual for your life's work. Without that manual, without that will, the law decides how your assets ought to be distributed. And trust me, that can lead to delays, unexpected costs, and sometimes even family conflicts and disputes. So, it is very important that you understand why you need a will and to understand the importance of ensuring that you do have one, regardless of what your age is and regardless of what it is that you own, right? So, having now explained what a will is, can we talk about some of the key benefits of making a will? In other words, why bother make a will? Well, let me tell you, here are some key reasons why it is important for you to make a will. Well, the first thing that I wanted to drop within your spirit is the fact that when you make a will, you have control over your assets. You ultimately decides who gets what instead of leaving it to chance. Then you also make a will for the key benefit of protecting your family. You appoint guardians for minor children and you ensure that they are cared for in a manner that you would want for them to be cared for. You make a will also as a key benefit to avoid disputes, conflicts that may arise. Because within your will, you're actually leaving clear instructions that lead to fewer arguments among family members or beneficiaries slash dependents. Yeah? But you also make a will for peace of mind. You know what your wishes are and you want them to be respected no matter what. So it doesn't matter if you own a house, if you own a car, if you have a business, or you just have a few personal items. Having a will ensure that your wishes are clear and legally recognized. But having said all of this, what are some common myths that people have when it comes to wills? So let's do some myth busters, right? Let's just talk about some things that are just purely not acceptable as being reality. So the first myth is that I am too young to have a will. Now that's the first thing that we need to bust. Now the truth is, even young people can plan for the unexpected things that may arise. Because listen, the mortality rate has fallen within the last 15 to 20 years. So no longer are persons dying at the rightful age of 70, 80. You have young people who are dying at 40, 35, 50, right? So the first myth is that you're never too young to have a will. Now, the second myth is I don't have enough, so it's not necessary. The truth is, a will is not just about money. It's not just about the physical assets that you possess. It is also about guardianship, personal items, what you hope your legacy to be. Yeah? The third myth is that wills are complicated and they are expensive. What is the truth? The truth is, wills are actually simpler and more affordable than you may think, especially when you use the services of an attorney or some other legal avenue. So, those are just some of the everyday nuances when it comes to why most persons avoid making their wills. But how do you go about making a will? That's a real question for us, right? How do you go about making your will? Well, first and foremost, I want to tell you, list your assets. Having listed your assets, you will now be able to itemize what is considered to be personal property and what is considered to be real property, right? And ensure that there is a clear understanding and demarcation between and betwixt the two. Having now listed your assets, you must now decide who gets what. That is something that is purely up to you and your relationship that you have with the dependent or the beneficiary. Choose an executor. Now, this is one of the things that has often reared its ugly heads when it comes to making a will, because a lot of persons don't realize that in choosing your executor, you need to ensure that you consider this question very seriously. Because an executor is that individual that will stand in the place of the testator when they so pass. So you need to ensure that the person is competent, reliable, trustworthy, and is capable of fulfilling your last wish and testament. Yeah? So my advice is choose a person that you trust to carry out your wishes exactly as you intended. Always ensure that your will is a valid will. Now, there are certain legislations that, depending on where you live, they will offer you some requirements in order to validate your will. And one of them is that your will must be signed in the presence of a witness, as is required in general by law. Always keep your will up to date because a will, like everything else in life, may change. Yeah? Life changes. You may remarry. You may have children. You may purchase a home. You may have sold one. You may have bought a car. You may have gotten rid of it. So you need to always update your will and ensure that your will is kept as current as possible. Yeah? That being said, I think today I have highlighted for you quite a lot of things to consider. And I would have dropped in your spirit quite a lot of golden nuggets to take to those dinner table conversations, those legal offices, just about anyone with the level of skill and competence or guidance that you may require in order to take the conversation further and to advance your own understanding of the importance of making a will. So, to wrap this up, making a will is not morbid, it's responsible. And it is one of the most important ways that you can protect your family and your legacy. So please do not wait. Even if you're young or you're starting over, take a few minutes to make that plan. Your future self, your loved ones, trust me, they will thank you for it. So, my extraordinaires, if you found this video helpful in any way, please don't forget, consider always liking, sharing, and hitting that notification bell so that you don't miss future tips or, advice that I may give along the way. And if any of this resonated with you, please feel free to drop me a comment. I will do another episode on looking at the importance of choosing the right executor. As I said, it's a very serious question and it's one that I always want for you to consider. So, thank you as always for sticking and staying. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care and bye bye.